Hello everyone, today we're going to look at how to do jumping underneath a platform in Unreal Engine. So if you've ever done a platformer game where you need to jump from underneath a platform onto the platform, you may have searched Google for a result. The first hit will most likely tell you to use a platform with a timer that calculates your position and its position, and if you're above a certain threshold, to allow you to step on it. This is probably the absolute worst way to do it, and we're going to cover 3 other ways to do it. As a side note, I will be using the terms phasing in and phasing out during this tutorial. When 2 things are phased in, it means that they can see each other and collide with each other. When they are phased out or something is phased out, it means that it no longer sees the other object, and as such they will pass through each other. So the first method is to use a collider underneath the platform and to have the platform always phased in. When you hit the collider, it phases out. And when you stop overlapping with the collider, it phases back in. Now, this is one of the simplest ways to do it. However, you can have 2 issues with it. One of them is clipping. One of them is incorrect collisions, or at least incorrect hitting of the collider. That may happen. The second method we're going to look at, we will install a ray trace underneath the highest foot. The platform is phased out until the ray trace detects the hit. Once it detects it, it is finally phased back in and you can step on top of it. When you jump off, it will be phased out again until the ray trace hits it again. The last one is to do the reverse. You are always phased out and the platform is always phased in, and the same ray trace method applies, except that if you hit the platform itself, you will actually phase in with the platform and stay on top of it. The benefit of this is that you don't need to create an actor platform. Instead, you can simply create a static mesh, and if you're adventurous enough, you can always create instance static meshes. So let's take a look at the 3 platforms in action. So the first one here is with the box collider, as we can read. So if I jump from underneath, I'm on top. Now let's take a look at those bugs that I was talking about. So it's not going to clip because I've set a perfect sort of height, but depending on your position of the collider, you may go in and then clip immediately into it. There is a small clipping here, but it's barely noticeable. Again, clip. The other issue is if you don't collide correctly with it. See? So I still went through the platform, and that can cause quite a bit of frustration with people. Like, I touched the platform, but I'm still going through it. The other one is the phased platform. So it's always phased out unless I go in and bam, the ray trace just touched it. So the ray trace is on top of the foot. Phased. And the last one, as you saw, I just went right through it because I'm phased out, but then I phase back in. Phased in. So let's take a look at the blueprints. The blueprint for the box collision is simply a platform with a box collider run underneath it, as we can see here. And depending, as you can tell, I'm slightly in the actual platform. This is the area where it will cause clipping. In and of itself, it's a simple graph. On begin overlap, if my player is a player, or you can do whatever detection method you want. Set the collision response of the platform to the pawn, to overlap, or to block. Simple as that. The next one uses a blueprint interface on a single event. So if you get a trigger, same thing as the previous, but we're using a blueprint interface instead. To do the check for the blueprint interface, what we're doing is we're ray tracing below. So the first thing we do is we check, are you falling? If you are falling, get your world location, and we're going to create a ray trace or a line trace. And we're going to look specifically for something that is tagged as vehicles. So very important to tag as something object types other than what you would use normally for these platforms, because they are phasing platforms, right? So in all of them, they are considered in their collision presets as vehicles. If you get a hit on a vehicle, since nothing else is a vehicle in my setup, but you can set up your own different way of doing it. If you hit, then check if it implements the BPI interface, and if it does, set it to your current platform that you're on top and send a message for trigger solid. Now this is important to set it as your own variable, because if you are off of it, you need to get a reference to it to tell it, hey, I need you to phase out again, and then set the platform to nothing. For the last one, the static platform itself is just static. The only thing it has is that it's a vehicle with overlapping visibility in camera and blocking everything else. If we go into the character itself, we're just going to do a phase check. Same thing as the previous one. Are you falling? If so, check, make a line trace. And if your line trace hits something, either block it or overlap it, and that's it. So there's no need for an interface, and the collision itself is dealt with in this tick. And there you go. Thank you for watching. What method would you use? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to see more of these, drop us a like and be sure to subscribe for future videos. If you want to support the channel, check out our Patreon, where we will be releasing early access builds for games that we are making and voting on future video topics. See you in the next one.